Hello everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this Lithonia lighting 250 watt metal halide wall pack fixture. I recently picked this up at the Restore for I believe like $2.60 or something crazy like that. This is something that is new old stock, but has definitely been sitting around somewhere where it's been weathered or at least damaged in some way, shape, or form, because the finish here in this spot and others, as you'll see as we get deeper into the video, have definitely been damaged and are now kind of corroding a little bit. But other than that, it seems to be a new old stock fixture, and you can kind of see the package of the bulb in here, you know, Sylvania and the information in the middle there, and you'll see more of that as we get deeper in. Now, this is a very high quality fixture. You might not be able to tell in the video, but this is all metal and glass. There's no plastic here like some of the other brands. I believe Hubble made those plastic ones that would go right over it. I had a couple of those in the collection. I don't know if I have them anymore, but I do have another one of these, except it is 250 watt high pressure sodium. That one I got used from the university many years ago. So here is its friend, a 250 watt metal halide version. Very cool find. So on the front of the fixture here, obviously we have our ballast compartment and the big glass refractor. It's interesting there's a big circle right here, and you might be able to see that. I wonder if that's just from manufacturing, and like that's a plug in the mold, and it just didn't line up perfectly, so it's slanted a little bit. Interesting. Of course, we have two screws here at the bottom that would screw the fixture in. And at the top, you can see we have hinges. Again, you can see it's corroded very badly here on the one hinge, and yeah, it definitely had to have had a reaction with something or something dripping on it over time. But other than that, again, it definitely seems to be new old stock. Very strange. So let's go ahead and open it up here, and it's probably going to want to tip on me because this one has a unique feature. So I'm going to hold the front here, and we'll lean it back. Okay, so here's the inside. As you can see, it still has the cardboard from the factory, so let's lift that out of here. Definitely dirty, as if a mouse or something got in here. Set that aside, and here's our lamp. Let's see, let's unscrew it here. This was not screwed in, it was sitting in here when I found it, but I screwed it in so it didn't wobble around. Okay, of course it's a Sylvania metal arc. All the typical information. And there's our bulb. Beautiful BT28 shape. And there's our etch on the top. Very nice. Beautiful bulb. Yeah, definitely the sleeve here falling apart. So let's put the bulb back in there, and we'll set that aside for right now. And of course we have our reflector here, very dirty. Like I say, it's definitely been somewhere, at least sitting for a long time. You can still see some blue plastic here from the reflector when they took it off. Okay, so up in the corner here, well, before we do that, actually, we have a plug here. We can disconnect the top, and that's the special feature here, is that the ballasting equipment is all in the front. It's all in here, so when you mount it on the wall, all you have to mount is this, and you don't have to worry about, you know, holding up a very heavy fixture while you're mounting it. And then, of course, when you're ready, you just put the cover right on it and plug it in. A very neat idea. Also note over here, we have this little arm, and as far as my understanding, you can put it out like so to help hold that cover open so you can relamp it without having to hold up the heavy ballast compartment at the same time. You know, just like the rod to hold the hood up on your car. Very neat feature. Okay, so let's take a look at the information up here, and we'll change the camera a little bit. Okay, 250 watt M58 lamp. It is a multi-tap ballast, and its model is the TWH 250M TBLPI. And of course, just the other regular stickers. Let's see if there's anything underneath here. No, not really. And of course our mogul socket. Also note here at the bottom we have some grooves, and I'm sure these are here for just drip holes. If moisture or water gets into the fixture, it can evacuate easily enough. Here's another common thing I noticed, and I don't know if it's supposed to be for when you install it, but a lot of fixtures put these zip ties in here that are screwed in and they're just never used. Again, probably something that would be used if, you know, it was installed. And we'll take a quick look at the plug here as well. Looks like we have everything we need to connect to the ballasting compartment. So let's move that aside. And we'll bring this down, which is incredibly heavy, because, I mean, we do have this very thick glass refractor here, and I mean, it is thick. Look at it. I mean, where the ribs are on the outside to there, that's got to be well over 1/2 centimeter, maybe more than 1/4 inch or so in some spots. You know, it's a little thinner down here, but up top, it's also very thick. And of course, this no light comes out up here. Of course, it will, but it, you know, to usefulness. Anyway, okay, all of our ballasting equipment is in this compartment right here. So let's spin this around. And it looks like we just need to take out 2 screws right here to get inside. Okay, now it looks like a capacitor or something is mounted to this plate, and I'm sure the ballast is mounted to the housing. Indeed it is. So, there's the inside. Not too much going on, to be real honest. We got our capacitor here. And let's see, we can loosen it up so we can see what we got. So there's our capacitor. And we'll just let that be out for a second. Of course, we have our ballast here. Now, I do not see, at first glance, any sticker on the ballast that is facing us. So I think the only way to see what manufacturer the ballast is, we're going to have to remove it. There we go. Let's lift it up. Oh, it's an Advance. And there's the sticker on it. I'm sure it says it does mercury vapor lamps as well. Indeed it does. H37 mercury lamp. Naturally, it's not a pulse start fixture, so being a probe start metal halide, it is without modification. You can use mercury vapor bulbs on this. So there's the information on the ballast. And if you take all this out, that's really all that's in here. Just set that down and let me reorient the camera here. That's all that's in the ballast housing. Of course, we have our glass here, which still makes it quite heavy. But hey, high quality. I like it. So now, we need to clean this up a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll reinstall the equipment. Got everything all vacuumed up, so that's much better. And now, let's just take a look at the ballast here again. I've been trying to look around to see if there's a date code somewhere. Like, would this be April of 2004? I'm not sure. And then we have the code here at the end of the capacitor. That says 92. So I'm not sure what's going on here or what the actual dates would be depending on the manufacturer. But I don't see anything really on the fixture either that would indicate a date code of when it was made, unless somebody noticed something earlier in the video. But of course, that's the markings that I can find anyways. So let's go ahead and start reassembly. Boy, some of these wires are certainly very twisted up, but looks like that's how they did it at the factory. Now, I do know that there was a note on the fixture stating that it was wired for 277 or something like that. So we will need to rewire this appropriately for the voltage that we're going to use, of course, which is 120 volt. So let's see here. We do have it connected to 277, and we do not want that. So let's undo that connection there. There we go. Here's our 277 wire. And of course we have our wire for the power in from this connector that is supplied here with the fixture. Okay, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit there. So we need to cover this one up. The other ones, it kind of just terminates there. We don't really have, you know, wire coming out of it for ones that aren't selected yet. But obviously we don't want the voltage coming back out of that connector. So let's get rid of that. And then we'll just take a wire nut here and put it over the end to make it safer. That way, we don't have to worry about it touching anything. And of course, we want 120 volt. So let's go ahead and get the wire out of here. And I'm sure it's back a little ways, so we'll start down here. Oh yeah, it is back quite a ways. Get that all twisted up. And we'll put that back on here. Now, I'm kind of picky when it comes to how long wires are. I feel like they should only be a certain length, or else I'm worried about it sticking out. So we'll get these two here. And we'll use the same wire nut. There's nothing wrong with it. And now we have the fixture wired up for 120. Good. This is still odd to me, why it's twisted so much, but that goes to the capacitor. So, of course, the capacitor sits inside of this loop here. So we'll push it back in there, and the lip of it sits right in this channel. So we'll go ahead and put it back the way it was, like this, with the wires going away from it. Great. Now everything is reconnected to this big plug. And we can reassemble this cover. See, the wire would be longer if this wasn't so twisted up, but it's all twisted up. I'm also surprised they didn't put anything here for this wire, so it's not like rubbing on it. But I suppose you're not necessarily opening and closing it every 3 seconds, so it's not the world's biggest problem. And we'll get our screws put back in here. So there we are, all put back together in the ballast compartment. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is this is loose. So, I mean, since it's loose, let's just loosen these other ones, and we'll take a look at the glass refractor here. And it should just lift right out for us. Yep, there it goes. Oh yeah, that's where a lot of the weight's coming from. It's equally as heavy as the ballast, if not a little bit more. Yep, definitely had mice in this thing. So, I'm going to clean in between here while we have a chance. You know, thinking of the mice, I wonder if their waste byproducts is what is causing this to happen to the finish. It's probably acidic as can be and is causing the paint to flake off and corrode the aluminum enclosure here. So we got all that vacuumed up, and the same with the top glass here. And boy, yeah, this thing has a lot of weight to it. But, you know, it definitely will not yellow over time because it is a nice glass panel. So we'll get these little things back into place, and we don't want to tighten these too much. There we go. That is all reassembled. So let's shift our focus over to the back panel here. Got to clean this up because I tell you what, it definitely is dirty. And got to get all of the, I'm sure, mouse bio waste off of here. Definitely mice again. Look at how they chewed up this. Thankfully, the only wire they chewed on was the ground wire here. And the other wires are actually fine. Yeah, I think that's what, yeah, okay. That one is a little chewed through, but we could put some tape around that. I don't think they like the taste of fiberglass wire. So, we'll mend that and clean this up a little bit. Got this wire mended here a little bit Of course, the insulation was still there, so we just got to keep it down. And of course, they chewed through the part of the wire here, so we're gonna just get rid of that. It's just a ground wire. We can reach it still. It's still fine, long enough. Okay, all the other wires inspected to be just fine. So now, clean this up. Reflector is, well, much cleaner. So that's positive, and now we'll just get it installed here. We'll just move these wires out of the way, and it slips right back down into place like so. And we'll tighten that up. Let's see here. Make it straight. There we go. Now, the next problem really is, where are we going to have the wire come in for this thing? Well, there is one hole at the top here, as you can see, but it's quite large. And I'm sure in most installations, that is where it would come in. You know, a main line would come in from up there, but that's not how I want to do it. I want to have a cord come in from somewhere. So I'm thinking, like we've done to some wall pack fixtures in the past, we're going to make a hole down in one of these corners to accommodate a wire to come in. And I'm debating on putting it over here or here, but I'm leaning more towards the socket side, because if it comes in, I have something I can zip tie the wire to, which is the socket holder itself. So I think what we need to do now is figure out what wire we'd like to use. Obtained a wire of choice here, this appliance cord naturally. This came off of a recent fixture I parted out, that Grand Light 175 watt mercury vapor fixture. It just, the ballast in that thing is just no good. Of course, that's what you get with that type of quality. But anyway, as you can see, these wires are very crispy, and they definitely need to be trimmed back to find some more appropriate wires. They definitely got heat treated in a not good way. So we're going to need to do that, but we're also going to need to find an appropriate drill bit that is this size that we can use to make the hole down in the corner here. So I'm just kind of feeling we have, you know, some obstructions on the other side here, but we also don't need it to be too far forward. And of course we have this little divot here. So let's see, maybe somewhere back a little bit at an angle, but we do have, you know, the thickness of it to deal with. And I'm feeling like right here. So we'll get a little bump started so we have something to help our drill bit find its home. Okay, we got that started a little bit there. So now I actually have these old trays for cooking that I try to use to catch little metal shards like this when cutting. So let's go ahead and we'll drill these holes out. There's one, there's two, and there's three. So that should be the appropriate size for our wire. Oh, that's looking nice. Look at that. I guess we could have gone a little bit smaller, but that's okay. That'll work out well. I am very much a fan of that, because now we can have the wire come up, or these come down rather, and we can have them all attach, and we don't have to have it come out the side or something ridiculous, because this will be mounted on a wall somewhere, of course, for display or use at some function. You never know what the future holds. We will go ahead and get this all wired up here. There we go. So now the next step is thinking about how to secure this wire, because we don't want it to be pulling out and putting strain on the wires that are inside. I originally thought that I wanted to have this all the way up here and zip tied to the socket, but you know, this wire isn't necessarily made for the heat that the lamp's going to be putting off. So if we put it down here, and it already has a little bit of a clamp mark from where it used to be, we can put a zip tie around that. It's a great way to restrain it from it pulling out. And these wires that are in here are surely rated for the heat that the bulb will produce when, you know, heat rises. And at least with the connectors down here, heat, you know, rises, so it should be a little less temperature than up top. So I think we're just going to do that. So I usually loop it around like so, and then we'll zip tie it in here. That gives it an extra, makes it a little bigger in size. And there we go. There's our makeshift cord restraint. Very nice. And of course, we'll get rid of the excess here, make it look even nicer. So normally I would put the bulb in here and the cover back on, but I really want to find a place to display this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and find a place to mount this so that we can put the ballast compartment on and enjoy it. Well, we got it mounted in its new home here, and here's the little kickstand item in use. As you can see, it gives you just enough room to get to the lamp. However, we definitely need to still plug in the ballast assembly here on the front. The bulb is installed. With it now completely installed, let's go ahead and watch it turn on. Let's turn off the lights, and we'll plug it in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Certainly took a second there. I'm sure it had to charge up that capacitor or something along those lines. And we finally have ignition with that brand new Sylvania metal halide bulb. Very cool. So, as usual, let's let it warm up. Okay, well, that was incredibly fast. We're already at full brightness. The lux meter down here has leveled out at about 885 lux. So, let's go ahead and see how well it's lighting everything up. It certainly lights everything up quite well. Of course, right beneath it, you can kind of see a sharp, or not so sharp, but kind of a line here of where the light, you know, is thrown. It's thrown in this area here, and you can see everything above this line is getting darker because, of course, it is a wall pack. It wants to wash the parking lot or whatever area you have outside, your park pavilion, wherever you install this thing, in the, you know, the self-service car wash. In many places you find these fixtures. Definitely a nice crisp white color. So let's see what the lux meter has to say. Well, it looks like it's increasing a little bit again, but it's still hovering right around 885 or so. So I'm sure there's a little bit more it has to brighten up all the way, but it's definitely producing a very nice color and light distribution here. Very cool. Okay, let's watch it cool down. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video, taking a look at this Lithonia lighting 250 watt metal halide wall pack. Very cool find, definitely had a little bit of a hard life sitting wherever it sat for however long. Of course, if anybody knows the date codes or any of those things we took a look at earlier in the video, please leave it in the comments down below. I highly appreciate not only your contributions in that regard, but all your comments in general. It's very much appreciated. Once again, I do hope you enjoyed this particular video, and also please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.